What's up, everyone? It is your girl Jail Beauty 87 here, aka Grace, and today we're gonna get into the best palettes I tried the best makeup I tried so far in 2021 palette edition. So I'm going to show you all the palettes I've tried so far in 2021 that I thought were good enough to be in this video, and then I will have my worst, of course, coming up after these videos. But I did my blush, bronzer, and highlighters and lip products in one video, and then I did my complexion in another video. So now I figured it was time to film the eyeshadow. So we're gonna start off with my Neon MUA and Drench Cosmetics Lunar Retrograde palette. If you thought this wasn't gonna be in here, you crazy. Finally, pastels made by someone of my skin tone that knows the struggle of using pastels for someone my skin tone. So needless to say, this was gonna be in here. So I absolutely love this palette. I have used it a few times. And that's what I try to go back to. Like, if I've used it a few times, or if I really was in love with the look I did with it and it wasn't a difficult look to make and the formula was something I liked, that's what I went by. But yeah, so there's this palette. Is fire. I don't know if it's still in stock now. You have to check on Drench Cosmetics website, but I loved it. I wore it, and you know, I was happy to have it. Next, I have the, what is this, the Dragonfly palette from Sugar Drizzle Cosmetics. This came out this year, and the mattes in this one are a million times better than the one that was in the Butterfly palette and in the Frosted Flamingo palette. I love this palette. Plus, it's just a really unique and fun color story. Like, I feel like this isn't a color story you see that often. I should have put this in my most unique makeup palettes. I don't think I did, but I was going to do a part 2 of that just because unique palettes come out a lot recently, and I've seen a couple unique palettes I plan on buying. So there'll be another one of those videos coming up, and this will more likely be in it. But this is a really good palette from them. They got a better matte formula like they said they were going to, and I can definitely tell the difference between this one and the Butterfly palette that came out this year as well, and the Frosty Flamingo that they came out with for the holidays. But yeah, I'm here for it. I love this palette. I think they just came out with another all shimmery palette, and it's probably already sold out too. I missed out on that in the Frog one, which I'm disappointed in because I wanted to get both of them, but you know, it's okay. You know, I'll survive. I'll be fine. I mean, I really won't till I actually have them in my hand, but you know, I'm a lie and pretend I'm fine. Next, I have the ColourPop Dark Vader palette from Star Wars. So it's ColourPop and Star Wars, and they did each character, so they did Darth Vader. I love this palette. I feel like this is an extremely great dupe to the Mothership 5 palette, or the Beetlejuice, what is it, Waiting Room palette. I feel like this is a great dupe for either one of those palettes, mainly the Waiting Room palette because of all the grays in it. But it does have the aubergine shading here that's in Mother's palette and the bright red, so that's why I said it could possibly be hers. But you know, she does more of a neutral thing, and this is more of a gray, cool tone type thing with a couple of pops of warm color. So the point is, the formula on this is actually quite amazing, and this is actually a really wonderful color story. And ColourPop doesn't usually do color stories like that, but I know they were following the theme of what Darth Vader looks like, and I'm glad they did, because that's what makes the color story so exceptional. And since it's actually their good quality formula, and not, you know, the mediocre or just the, you know, good, it's the exceptional formula, I'm happy to have it in my collection. Now, for somebody who's not a Star Wars person, the fact that I have another Star Wars palette from ColourPop, I feel like should be shocking. But at the same time, because of the color story here, I feel like you won't be surprised when I have this palette. I mean, look at it. How was I going to resist it? It's like a cool tone blue palette, and then it has some cool grungy, dark, warm tone colors in it. So it's like I couldn't resist this palette. So I got it. The formula is amazing. I like the marble shades that they have in here, and I just love the color story overall. Like, this is how you draw me in to buy a palette. These colors are just absolutely stunning. And even though I don't really like neutral palettes, because I feel like this is just a neutral palette with a pop of blue and a pop of red in it, I really like this palette, and I really like the formula on this palette, and I'm happy that I have it in my collection, because I was iffy on it, but when I saw the color story, I was like, no, I have to have it. So next, we have my Night Flower palette from Lethal Cosmetics. When you see the inside of this, you'll know why it's here. Look at these colors. I mean, seriously, who was not about to have this in their collection? Because it wasn't gonna be me. Like, it's blue, it's purple, and then it has fuchsia type pinks in it. I mean, doesn't it just scream a color story for me? Like, it's absolutely stunning. I know their formula of eyeshadow is amazing, and their shimmers are just out of this world, sparkly, wonderful goodness. So I had to include them in this video because they were stunning and I tried them this year. The next palettes I have to talk about, I forgot to take them out the drawers. I'm over here pulling them out now, is the BH Cosmetics, Jesus, Beauty Bay palettes. Now, if y'all remember, I already have the palettes that they took some of these colors out of, but I still felt the need to include these because I did try these this year and all those palettes came out in the last couple of years. So we have the berries. This is what she looks like. This isn't using my color stories, we all know, but you know, she's cute. The greens are the earthy. Again, we know this would be more of my color story. To me, this seems like it's a giant version of the Meant to Be and the Just My Luck, just all put in one palette. So this might be in a main chick side chick video coming up soon, along with the berries, because it looks really similar to the cherry on top from BH Cosmetics. And next we have the Midnight palette. My battery's about to die, so I'll have to get up in a second. But this is a blue purple lover's dream. If you didn't get a chance to get your hands on the Book of Magic, I feel like this would be a good alternative for you. And if you weren't really crazy about the neutrals in that palette like I weren't, well, I said I wasn't, then you'll be fine with having, you know, this one, because it gives you all those colors without the neutrals in it. So to me, this is the perfect palette now, as opposed to Book of Magic when they had those neutrals in it. But let me go get another battery and then we'll get into the rest of these palettes. Okay, girl? Okay. Okay, so next I have the Hella palette from Angie and Odin's Eye. Of course this was going to be in there because, I mean, I usually love any palette Angie makes. So this is more of like her twist on a neutral palette, if you will, I guess. Because it has these deeper tones to make a smoky eye. You have some cute little pops of pink and green to combine together, which makes very nice eye look. So I like this palette a lot. I thought the quality was amazing, but of course Odin's Eye quality is always amazing. So I'm happy about that. And I'm happy I got to get my hands on this palette like I was to get my hands on her other collab. Next one I have is the, what's this, Whistler Snow Lodge palette from Nomad Cosmetics. I love the color story of this. I thought it was so unique and cool. It's kind of giving vibes of the Star Wars palette when you think about it, because you got this row here that looks like the row in there, and then you got the blues and whatnot that looks like in there, but it has like this cute little green section that gives a little uniqueness that's not in the Star Wars palette. So it's like a good fourth of the Star Wars palette, and they threw in some mints and like this little wannabe neutralist type row, which I'm here for. You know, it's cute. If I'm in a rush, I can still use this palette because I can use this neutral row really quick, and then when I have time I can do my colorful row and do my blues, or take some time and make a nice little red smoky eye. So I really like the color story of this. I always think they come out with fun and unique color stories, which I think is what draws me to them. Triad, from the fact that they go to all these destinations and then they make palettes on them. I think that's a cute little twist on, you know, the marketing, something that a lot of people don't do. Just like when Glam Lights started out when they were doing like all the food, because a lot of people weren't really doing that. So I think like when you have your own twist on something, it makes your brand like a little more interesting, and that's always a good thing because there's so many brands. Next, I have the Rain palette by Makeup by Alana. I believe that's how you say it. Don't quote me. I really love the quality of Be Perfect Cosmetics. So I'm not surprised that I really liked this palette. I mean, look at how stunning it is. I just hate having to hold it like this because like I can't see if it's in frame, it's focusing or whatever. But this palette is stunning. It looks absolutely wonderful. But I will say I still hate the fact that there's so many pressed glitters in here. Why are there 4 pressed glitters in here? I could have had 4 shimmers, but you gave me these damn pressed glitters instead. So I was really upset about that whole aspect of this palette. But again, it was her collab, and like the formula on the stuff I knew was going to be amazing, and I could always just grab from the Stacey Marie palette, the Carnival one, to make up for the fact that there's 4 pressed glitters in there for just a certain shimmer I want that she doesn't have. So next, y'all know Blend Bunny is gonna be in this video. The Blend Bunny Cosmetics, the what is it? The Dollhouse palette. Yes, this is what it looks like on the inside. Absolutely stunning. I love how she always does each row down to where you can just make an eye look out of that row. But I was most excited about this row right here with all the dark shades and the fact that this isn't a traditional neutral palette, because I was concerned about it being a traditional neutral palette when she said she's coming out with a neutral palette, because I was just like, oh gosh, you're gonna come up with one of these giant brown palettes and I'm not gonna be feeling it. But no, she did not do that, and I appreciate it, because traditional neutrals are not for me. I'm more of these mauvey pink neutrals like she did, so I appreciate it. and I'm here for it. I'm so glad I got my hands on this palette, and I can't wait to see what she's coming out with next. I can't wait to see what her holiday palette's gonna look like. I'm hoping she has one because I think it'll be fire. Next, I have the Juvia's Place The Culture palette. I know they're still in some hot water, but some people, I know some YouTubers I watched it, they weren't gonna like feature the brand right now. I asked you all if you wanted me to feature this palette because I hadn't heard about what happened with them until after I had bought the palette, and then you all said you still want to see it. So I did go ahead and make that video if anyone's curious about it. And I have actually reached for this palette at least 2 or 3 times and made looks with it because I think it's a stunning color store and it's a stunning palette. The only thing is, since they always do colorful palettes, I feel like sometimes the color stores are somewhat repetitive, and to me this one is somewhat repetitive. That still doesn't mean the quality isn't nice. That still doesn't mean it doesn't look nice. And I like the fact that they stopped putting a whole bunch of pressed glitters in it. I think there's only one pressed glitter in here, and it's this one right here, and everything else is just a shimmer or a matte. So I appreciated that about this palette. And it was classic Juvia's Place quality. We all know it's good. I only got 3 palettes left. Now, these are all luxury high-end palettes that cost, you know, a nice little coin. Or, well, one of them is high-end, but the rest of them are like luxury. But now, this palette I'm about to talk about did not come out this year. I think it came out a couple of years ago or something like that. And then Natasha Jones brought it back in stock. I posted it on my community tab so you all would know about it. But this is a Metropolis palette. I just got it this year. And then the people that wanted the gold palette went and got that. But I was hesitant about this because this is when she had first came out the cream to powder formula, and that cranberry palette had the cream to powder formula, and it was terrible. And then she had another cream to powder formula that I didn't necessarily like the same year, so I was like, I'm not buying this palette. I don't trust it. Like, she had too much up and down going on with her at the time, so I was like, yeah, no, I'm not buying it. Then I heard everybody named Mama rave about it. My girl Dionluvsmakeup, with that I did the collab with today, was raving about this palette. And then my girl Dr. Ash and her makeup was raving about this palette, and all the girls that I watched on YouTube pretty much were raving about this palette and saying this was the best Natasha Denona palette after I didn't buy it. So I was like, oh well, I had seen it on the page for a while. I was gonna buy it, and then I didn't buy it. Then they decided to get rid of it, and I was like, oh well, it's the palette that'll never be for me. So then when I got it back in stock, I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and buy it, because it wasn't like I wasn't used to her cream to powder formula by then. So I bought it this year, but you know, it's exceptional like everyone says it is. This is one of her better cream to powder formulas. This is when she finally mastered it and then moved forward with all the ones that she's now in the palette. She's almost dropped the palette, girl. But yeah, I really like it. I'm a fan. I'm glad to have it in my collection. Now, this next palette, I don't appreciate y'all clowning this palette where you've been clowning it, okay? I think it works just fine. I think it's nice. But a lot of people I've been seeing saying that it's not good. And I don't, maybe I'm missing it, or I'll be the odd man out. I don't give a damn. But this is the Supreme Mauve from Artist Couture. But I've heard a whole bunch of people say they don't like it. I know Babs Beauty, my girl Stephanie here on YouTube, she said she didn't like it. I think I heard Morgan Turner saying that this wasn't a good palette either. I like this palette. What is y'all problem? I think it's just fine. I love this aubergine shade he put in here. Reminds me of Mother's shade. My favorite shimmers are Sex Appeal and Obscene, of course. They are absolutely stunning. I haven't really reached into too much of any of the lighter shades. I kind of sort of stay toward the the last 2 rows. The top row I haven't even touched like at all, and I probably never will. But I really like this palette, and these are my type of tones as a general rule, as y'all know. Like when I'm going for a nude moment, this is a nude for me. A nude for me isn't browns, it's mauves and rose and berryish type tones. That's just my nude color story. So I could just be biased in that regard, and that's why I like it so much. But I thought the palette worked just fine, so I was confused when everybody was clowning. I'm like, why y'all doing Angel like this? This palette works just fine. I don't know. Anyway, next I have the last palette to talk about, which is the Patrick Ta Major Dimensions Volume 2 eyeshadow palette. This is the more mauve tone one, so of course we know I was buying this as soon as I saw it. I will say though, I'm disappointed because it's more like a mid-tone palette, but the shimmer formula here is so amazing, and then the creams in here are really nice, so I can look past the fact that it's not, you know, giving a lot when it comes to the mattes, because you have to think how many rose tone palettes I have. I could just go into another palette and reach for a darker shade, and then just use all of these as more of like my crease shades. So that's usually what I do. I use these as my crease shades, then I'll go into a palette that has a deeper tone in it, and then I'll use the cream as my base sometimes if I'm in a rush and I just have time to use this palette and don't have time. Or I can just take my bronzer and put it on the outer V and use these as my crease shades when I'm in a rush if I want to use one palette. But the shimmers in here are just so phenomenal, and his cream formula is really nice. Now I haven't used the one at the top at all, but again, I don't really feel the need to use that one. I would literally just use that one as a eye base, and I already have eye bases, and I have several different eye bases, so it's like I don't need to use that as an eye base. So I don't use that one as an eye base. I only use the deeper one, and that's when I want to make the mattes as dark as I possibly can. So those are all the palettes I had that I tried so far in 2022 that I thought were good enough to be in this video. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember, you all are diamonds. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Be blessed, girl. Bye. And you can comment down below and tell me which palettes that you have that I talk about that you like, or just tell me which palettes that you tried so far this year that you liked, because I'm just curious. Knows the girl. Okay, bye.